You have arrived at the Elwin channel, a place to get a deeper look at our interesting perspective regarding life, health, and design. The way you think, the way you behave, the way you eat can influence your life by 30 to 50 years. Deepak Chopra. Our first interesting fact of the day. What if he told you that all of those K-pop idols and actors who flaunt such fair porcelain doll-type skin are actually less likely to get sunburn or even skin cancer for that matter than individuals who are from blonde or red-haired and fair-skinned European ancestry? That's because, believe it or not, Asian people tend to have more pigmentation in the deeper parts of their skin. Fact number 2. Make sure you go out in the sweltering heat of the summer. Or maybe just make sure you get some good old sunlight off and on throughout the day. This will ensure that you get plenty of vitamin D. After all, vitamin D deficiency is one of the main culprits that most people needlessly endure, resulting in fatigue, depression, and osteoporosis. Interesting fact number 3. For those who suffer from skin conditions such as psoriasis and atopic dermatitis, many experts claim that phototherapy treatments or exposure to certain UV lights can help with the symptoms and reduce flare-ups of the skin. Fun fact number 4. Most women living in Asian countries, particularly those residing in East Asia, absolutely avoid the sun like the plague. Although there are many theories as to why this is the case, such as difficult historic pasts when those of the upper class had fair complexion as opposed to the so-called peasants, who also happen to be farmers, and they would inevitably end up with darker skin, of course. And nowadays, we think that it's probably due to the fact that constant sun exposure will simply cause wrinkles and premature aging of the skin. Chances are that if you grew up sometime during the 1980s, you've heard all sorts of things about ultraviolet light and UV radiation, along with all of its terrifying effects on the human body, particularly the dermis. Now, we don't need to be alarmists, but the truth is, when it comes to protecting ourselves from harmful UV rays, the authorities have been pretty much right all along. It goes without saying that the greatest and most potent source of UV radiation comes from the sun itself. Yep, so be sure to listen to Mama's advice and lather on that sunscreen next time you go out. Simply put, we can't get away from it. It's everywhere, whether it be through the clouds, indoors when you're sitting next to the window, or of course, if you're out gardening on a hot, scorching day, it will always be there even in small or big amounts. So what exactly is ultraviolet light? Since the sun is the ultimate source of light, let's talk about the 3 main ways that it emits light. First, there's a visible type of light which is clear for all to see, and then it also acts as a main source of heat. And last, in the form of ultraviolet radiation, which so happens to be invisible to the naked eye. UV rays have a range of 3 different forms, known as UVA, UVB, and UVC, going from the lowest frequency to the highest. So in simpler terms, UVA equals approximately 315 nanometers to 400 nanometers. UVB equals approximately 280 nanometers to 315 nanometers. And UVC equals about 100 nanometers to 280 nanometers. The world has now been aware that the ozone layer is becoming slowly depleted, but the problem is, it is literally the filter, or window shade, if you will, that stands between us and the sun. It works hard to filter out the different ultraviolet rays, but lucky for us, at least for now, the one with the shortest wavelength and most harmful of the 3, that is UVC, doesn't reach us here on planet Earth because it is fully absorbed by our atmosphere. But here's a caveat. The shorter the wavelength of the UV ray, the harder it is to actually enter the skin barrier as opposed to their long counterparts. Go figure. And then there's a UVB version, which so happens to cause tanning and even burning of the skin. But it does take a while to show up because it has a delayed response. Even so, it still holds the potential to affect the skin by causing wrinkles, age spots, and yes, even skin cancer. And last but certainly not the least, the menacing UVA, characterized by long wavelengths which do not get sucked up by the Earth's atmosphere effectively at all and have long, steady waves with the ability to permeate all through the epidermis and into the most profound layers of our skin. And this, my friends, is what causes that sneaky tan in the blink of an eye, or the dreaded cherry red sunburn if you are of very fair-skinned European descent, which will likely happen should you forget to wear sunscreen during your trip to Disneyland or hit the waves during the peak of summer. Okay, so we've been talking about only the negative effects of ultraviolet light, but did you know that there are some benefits to short but somewhat consistent exposure to UV rays? Get this, those who have been exposed to it since they were younger over long periods of time are less likely to develop melanoma cancer when exposed to it later in life. But of course, they would have had to be careful not to overdo it nor get frequent sunburns throughout that entire course of time. Think of it this way. It's the body's way of producing a sort of immunity within the skin barrier that allows to build upon it instead of, say, shocking the system and ending up sunburned. And on the other hand, those who have been completely avoiding the sun all their lives, but especially for populations within the northern hemisphere where colder climate is a norm, UV rays would potentially affect them more easily and particularly more so than those who have plenty of melanin in their genes. Believe it or not, people of Asian ancestry, and yes, we're also talking about East Asians of extremely fair skin, are much less likely to be negatively affected by the ultraviolet radiation due to a high level of underlying melanin within. And of course, individuals of darker skin tones, such as those of Latino and African descent, are even less likely to develop skin cancer. Even so, experts advise that no matter the color of the skin or ancestry, we should always lather on that beautiful gift of sunscreen for an extra layer of protection. So what are you waiting for? It's never too late to start your skincare regimen. So were you surprised by any of the facts in this video? If so, tell us more about it in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos.